Hey, and welcome to another tutorial. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make this really awesome animation loop in Blender 2.8 free. This is a satisfying animation loop, and I've been kind of inspired by Ducky 3D, who has been inspired by some other people on YouTube as well. And you've probably seen a little bit of these loopable, satisfying animation videos trending on the Blender community. So I'm going to show you guys how to make this, and this is the actual scene we're going to be making today, the tutorial. It's pretty much the exact same thing. The only difference is I didn't spend as much time on the lighting and the materials in this tutorial because it's a tutorial, but you guys can totally go ahead, mess around with things, make it what you want. I am going to be making that original one that I made available on Gumroad for $1, so you can look at that in the description. So without wasting any more time, let's get into the tutorial. I'll show you guys how to do this. Okay, so for a brand new scene open up in Blender 2.8 free, what we're going to do is go ahead and delete everything except the default cube. And then you're going to select your default cube. We're going to tab into edit mode here. And then with everything selected, all of our vertices, making sure we're in front orthographic view, we're going to go R45 and hit enter. And then we're going to go to our right orthographic view in edit mode. All of our vertices selected, we're going to go R45 and hit enter. We're going to now tab out of edit mode. We're going to go G, Z, and just move this guy up to about here for now. Doesn't have to be exact, we'll edit that a little bit later. And then we can start making our floor here. So we're going to go Shift A, we're going to go Mesh, and we're going to add in a plane. With this plane selected, go ahead and hit S and then 3 on your number pad to scale it up 3 times. We're now going to go into our edit mode. Go to your front orthographic view, and with all of these vertices selected, go E, Z, and bring this guy down. And you can hold in control if you want it to snap to the grid, so I'm going to do that and bring it down to about here. And with that done, we're going to go to our face select here. So select the face select, holding in Shift and Alt and using our left mouse button, we're going to click here. And it should loop select all of these faces here. Then we're going to go Shift D to duplicate it and then let go. And with that done, we're going to go S, Shift, and Z. And that's going to scale it out. And it's going to be limited only to on the Z. So it's only going to be scaling out like this, which is going to preserve the height. So that's just S, Shift, Z. And you can see here that works quite well. So we're going to go here with a distance like that. And you can see I accidentally selected the floor here. So I'm just going to go ahead, select that, X and delete faces. Then I'm going to go ahead, Shift Alt, just select these faces again. And then you're going to go E, and then right click to let go. And then you're going to go S, Shift, Z, and you're going to pull out just like we did before. And we're just going to be making our floor. So S, Shift, Z, and just scale it out like that. So something like that for now is okay. We can always come in if we need to edit it, but just leave it at this for now. Just grab this guy here, go Control L, Shift D, bring it up to about here, and then just S to scale. Go to your front orthographic view, and just mess around with this guy till you get a scale that you like, but I'm just going to go with something like this, scale it on the Z a little bit, and G, and bring it down. So we now have a platform like this. I'm going to tab out of edit mode. With all of this selected, this is very important. You're going to go Control A, and you're going to apply the scale. Now we can start adding a camera to our scene quickly, just so we can pose things a little bit. So I'm going to hover right about here. I'm going to go Shift A. I'm going to go to my camera here, so add a camera. And then I'm going to hit 0 with that camera selected, and then G, and then your middle mouse wheel, hold that in and pull back, and you're going to see you zoom out. Let's quickly go to our camera settings, and we're going to change the type from perspective to orthographic. And now if you pull the orthographic scale here, you can see we can zoom in and out. So I'm going to go with a value of about 15, and depending on where you've placed your camera, that will vary a little bit. But that's what I'm going to go with. That works for me. Maybe move it here a bit. You can double tap R to rotate it. Just get something that you like, something that works for you. Maybe zoom in a bit. Double tap to rotate. Just find a pose that works for you. I'm going to go with that. And what I think I might do is just come in here to my edit mode on these guys. Just select all of it and just scale it down a bit to about here. Okay, so we should have something that looks like this. Tab out of edit mode. And because we scaled it in our object, our edit mode, we don't have to apply the scale. It's only when we scale outside of edit mode. Okay, so we can now go ahead, Shift A, and just add in a quick mesh plane. Scale this guy up to about here, and then G, Z, bring it down. Go to our front orthographic view, and we want this guy just to be just underneath this bottom one there. That's it. Now grab this guy here. We're going to go to our modifiers, add modifier, and let's add a a bevel, add a bevel, then come here, make this angle, and you can see here the size is too much. We can come here to our offsets and just decrease this value here by about that much. So 0.018 works for me, and then I'm going to just go here to my segments and I'm going to increase them to 3. With that done, just go to your object and let's just enable smooth shading. There we go. So that guy is now done. Let's do the same thing with our cube. Because our cube is still the same scale, we don't have to apply anything. So let's just go to the bevel, make this guy angle, and then come here to our offset and just play around with that. I'm going to make the bevel on this guy a little bit bigger, and I'm going to give it about 4 segments, and then go to object and enable smooth shading. So in our camera view, we should now have something that looks quite soft and pleasant. I might grab this outer plane here, just go into edit mode again, select these outer edges like we did before, S, Shift Z, and just bring them out so we don't see anything there. Okay, there we go, that works. Grab my camera again and just mess around with it till you get something that you like. I might zoom in a little bit more here. I'm being quite fussy today. I'll just leave it at that for now. We can always move it around a little bit later. And then what I'm going to do is go Shift A, and I'm going to add in a few more objects. So go UV sphere, go to your modifiers, just give it a subdivision surface, set the viewport to 0, and just make the render 1. It doesn't have to be that much. And then go object and enable smooth shading. Go to your front view and just scale these guys, these spheres, as much as you want. Put them on any surface you want. Just be creative. Shift D. I'm going to go with that for now. It works. So we have some spheres here in our scene. We can just select all of these guys here and just apply the scale on these spheres. So select all of them and then go Control A and just apply the scale. So here we have our scene, it's all done, and we can now come into here and do some things with the particles. Okay, so to do the particles is pretty straightforward. What we're going to do is select our cube here. We're going to go here to our particle settings, and we're going to hit the little plus sign here to add a new particle system. And before we go any further, what we want to do is just go to our modifier stack and just make sure to put this particle system above our bevel modifier. So hit the little arrow here. It's very important. We want the particle system above the bevel modifier. And now that we've done that, you can see there are some particles here, but we want to do a few things here. So just go over to our particle settings. And what we want to do is make this type hair. Just enable regrow, go down to your render, and we're going to make the render as an object. And now we just need to make a quick object that we can use for our particles. So I'm going to select any one of these spheres. I'm going to go Shift D, just move it over to the side out of my camera view. I'm going to go here, click on here, go to my naming tab here, and I'm just going to name this particle so I know what I'm selecting. So just type in whatever you want. I'm just going to call it particle. Go back to your cube, go to your particle settings here, and what we want to do is go down to here and under object, you can see instance object. We want to click on here and we want to get that particle. So select the particle. We can now see we have all of these particles applied to our object. One thing we can do to make this a bit better is go to source. We're going to leave it on faces, and we're going to set this distribution to random. So click on there, make it random. And what we can do is go down here to our scale and mess around with the scale and also the random scale. And at the moment it's not making much sense because we have way too many particles. So I'm going to grab this number up here under the emission. We're going to drag that down to something more reasonable. So something like this. And we're just going to go back to our scale and just mess around with that. Now, depending on the scale of the sphere we selected, that is also going to have a big impact. So if you want to, you can scale this and apply it. But I'm just going to, this is fine, so I'm just going to mess around here with the scale under our render and just make it random. In fact, make the random all the way up to 2. So maybe bring the number up a bit. So this is totally personal preference. Make it what you want. I'm going to go with these settings here. You make it what you want. So what we can do now as well to make this look really awesome is to actually grab our particle here. And we're going to go to our object data properties here. And we're going to go to our shape keys. We're going to hit this little plus. It's going to make a shape key. And then we're going to hit it one more time. And we're going to take this key 1, make sure that's selected. And we're going to go into our edit mode with our particle selected. And what we're going to do is go G, Y, and just move it out to here. Then tab out of edit mode. You can see we play around with the slider here. We should see, if we go into our camera view, if we play around with the slider on a particle, these things go out like that. And that's a cool little cheat trick you can do to make a really cool effect. So that's pretty much done. We can now get into our animation, and I'm going to show you guys how we can make this look really cool. Okay, so the animation in this is pretty straightforward. What we're going to do first of all is just go to our edit, then go down to our preferences, and we want to go to animation. Then you want to go down to your F-curve settings, and we want to make the default interpolation linear. That's very important because we're going to be making this a loopable animation. I'm going to go ahead and close that once we've done that. Very important. What we want to do as well is go down here to our keyframes. So you can see our start frame is 1 and our end frame is 250. Let's make that 120 because this is going to be 120, 120 frames long. That's going to be our animation. Then just bring this guy here in the middle, open up the timeline a little bit to make it a little bit more space. Okay, so that's good. Go to your first frame. And the first thing we want to animate is this cube here. So we're going to select the cube and we're just going to make sure everything's applied. So go Control A and just apply the rotation. And if you've messed around with the scale, you can go and apply that as well. So once you've applied the rotation, just to make sure, what we're going to do is in our frame 1, go over here, hit N to bring up our properties panel. And then we're going to just go to items. And you're going to see here we have our rotation settings, and everything at the moment should be 0 over here if we've applied it. And then I'm going to hit I, hovering over here. That's going to lock in all of these rotation keys, and that's on frame 1. Then I'm going to drag it all the way to frame 120, hit my right arrow key just to move up 1 frame. And then what we're going to do is go over here to our Z, and I'm just going to make that 360. So type in 360. And once you've done that, you're going to, hovering over all of this, just hit I, and that's going to insert another keyframe on frame 121. So if we go to our frame 1, what we should have now is a loopable cycle. So let's have a look at this. And that shouldn't have any lapping frames as well. So that's a nice clean loopable animation. And what we're going to do is do the same thing with our particle. So grab your particle over here, go to frame 1, and we're just going to go over here to our object data properties. And we're going to make sure we're on that key 1 we did earlier. You guys remember the slider. So what we're going to do is bring it all the way to a value of 0, making sure we're on frame 1. We're going to hit I. Then we're going to take this slider, bring it to frame 121, and then we're going to just hit I as well, hovering over here. So what we have now is a hold key, which means on both ends it's exactly the same, so nothing's happening. But if we go to frame 60 and we drag the slider all the way up to a value of 1 over here, and we hit I as well, what we're going to have now is this, like that. So if we go into our camera view and you actually play animation, not only is our cube rotating, but our particles are kind of going in and out as well, like in a kind of like pulsating kind of way. It's really satisfying. It looks really cool. Now what we're seeing here, there is some intersection of the mesh in the bottom. It doesn't really matter. What you can do is come here to your particle settings, and you can just make the amount of these guys less. You can mess around with the scale as well if you think it's a bit too much. So I like this for now. I'm just going to go with that. I don't really mind it intersecting with the cube. It looks kind of cool. And then we can animate these little spheres here if we want to add a little bit more dynamic to our scene. So I'm going to quickly do that. So I'm going to just grab any 2 of these, maybe this one and that one, and then go to my frame 1. I'm just going to, in my viewport, hit the I key, and I'm going to go lock location. So hit the location. That's now inserted location keyframes for both of these. I'm going to go to frame 121 and just go I and lock the location again. And then, as you guys probably already figured out, go to frame 60, and then we're just going to do G, Z, bring them up like so, and then just hit I and insert the location. So these guys are now going to be going up and down in our camera view. So if we just have a look at that, we should now have this loopable animation. Our particles are doing what they want. Our scene is set up. So now we can get into the really fun part, which we've all been looking forward to, and that is our materials and our lighting in Eevee. Okay, so now that we're done with our animation, let's get into our materials and lighting. Pretty straightforward. So first of all, like we always do, just go to your settings here. Make sure you're in Eevee render, enable ambient occlusion and screen space reflections. If you want to go ahead and use cycles, you can do that, works just fine. But that's what I'm going to do here. So let's just go and add our lights to our scene. So I'm going to go Shift A. Let's go down to light, and the first light we're going to add is an area light. Go G, Z, bring it up to about here. And then you're going to go to your light settings. We're going to increase the size to about there, 10 meters, and then just take the power of this for now. Just make it 200. And then what we can do is go to your front orthographic view, Shift D, rotate this guy like so, bring him here, go to the top, rotate it about 45 degrees, place it here. So we're just doing a simple 3-point lighting setup, and then just go Shift D, bring it here, and then just rotate it. So if we go now into our camera view and render, we should see we have this, and depending on the scale and size of your scene, the power settings here is going to be a bit different. So I'm going to grab the top one. Okay, so I like 700, that's quite good. I'm going to grab these guys on the side, and let's just try something similar. I might also just do 700 for this guy here. Okay, 700 is a good value, and then I'm going to grab this guy on the side here, and also make that 700. Okay, so here's the lighting in our scene, pretty straightforward. Go to your world settings, and for now, let's just make it a little bit darker so we get a little bit more contrast in our scene. We can also grab our camera here. So just grab your camera in your scene, go down to your camera settings, and what we can do is enable depth of field, and then just grab this little eyedropper here and click it, and then select our main object here, which is this cube. And if we come over here to our f-stop under the aperture and we bring that value down, we're going to now see these objects in the background are blurring a little bit, and we have this nice depth of field, which is really awesome, makes our scene look cool. So let's get into our material. So let's select our cube here, then go over to the shading over here, go into the camera view, and just go Z rendered so we can see what's happening. So by default, because this is our default cube, it should already have material. So let's just call this, I'm not even going to name it, I'm just going to leave it as material. And we're going to do a really simple material setup here. This is actually something I saw on Ducky 3D, so full credit to him for coming up with this node system. So I'm going to make this a color for now. I'm going to go with something like a yellowish kind of color, just like that, kind of like a retro kind of yellow. And then what I'm going to do is go Shift A to get a mix shader. Then take the mix shader, grab this material output, put this guy in between the principled and the material output, and then we're going to get another principled BSDF. So go Shift A, search, and get a principled shader. And then once you have that principled shader, what you're going to do is plug this guy into the top socket here, and this guy will automatically go to the bottom socket. So we have these two here, and we're going to make this one fully metallic, and we're going to bring the roughness down to almost 0, like that. And then what we're going to do is make a mix texture here to mix these two. So we're going to go Shift A, search, and we're going to get a Voronoi. And we're going to get our Voronoi texture, put it over here. Then we're going to go Shift A, search, and we're going to get ourselves a color ramp. And put the color ramp here. We're going to take the distance, plug it into the factor here. And we're going to take the color, plug it here into the scale. And if you have your node wrangle enabled, you should automatically be able to select your Voronoi texture and go Control T and add in these two nodes. If you don't have it, just search for them manually and put it in, or just go to your preferences and enable that. Then we're going to take the object and we're going to plug it here into the vector. So we're going to see now, if we look at this, we have these two materials mixing, but if we bring these two values in here, it should make it quite a lot sharper. So I'm going to go with something like that, and we can see that's looking really awesome. And we can come here to our yellow material here. I'm going to make it a little bit more saturated. Totally up to you guys to make it how you want. Yeah, okay, that's good for now. So I'm going to hit A to select all of these, and then go Control C to copy them. So Control C, and then I'm going to select the floor over here, this guy here, and then I'm going to go New, and I'm just going to select these two by going A, select, and then X delete. And then I'm going to go Control V, and I'm going to paste all of these nodes in. And then all I simply have to do is come in here and mess around with the color till I get something I like. And I'm going to go with kind of like a dark kind of purple, like that for now. And then what I'm going to do is tab into edit mode, grab any one of these guys. So Control L. I'm going to go to my materials tab, go New, create a new material, and just do the same thing. Grab both these guys, delete them, and then go Control V to paste in this, and then make it whatever color you want. I'm just going to go with a pinkish kind of color for now, and then go Assign. We can see now it is assigned. And then we're going to grab this guy here, go Control L, and we're going to just create a new material, New, and do the exact same thing, just delete these, Control V, and you can do this as many times as you want, make as many of these colors as you want. And I'm just going to kind of go with a blue for now and Assign. So you should have something that looks like this. And then what we can do is the really important part. We're going to select our particle that we made earlier. So select the particle, and then what we're going to do is go new. And this time what we're going to do a little bit differently is go and get a new node. So Shift A, search, and we're going to get an object info. So get your object info. We're going to take the random, plug it here into the base color. Then we'll go Shift A, search, and get a color ramp node. Put it in between these two. And if we go here now and we drag this in and we drag this guy in here, we're going to see. Okay, apologies, my phone just rang there. So what I was saying is now you're going to see we have these different colors here, and you can make this a little bit more defined by coming here to constant. And you're going to see if we look at this, we only have 2 colors. So you just make these whatever you want. I'm going to make this one like kind of like a reddish kind of color. And I'm going to grab the white value here and make it like kind of blue, just as an example. And you can come in here, hit the little plus, and add as many of these tabs as you want. I'm just going to try and match this to what I did earlier, so it actually makes a little bit more sense. So maybe I'll just make this purple so it matches our environment. Grab this guy, maybe go for like a pink. And this is like totally personal taste, so make it whatever you want. And I think I'm going to grab this guy and make it more like a lighter kind of pink. Like that. So yeah, just make sure you work with a color palette. I'm not really going off a color palette for the tutorial. I probably should have, but I'm just showing you guys how this works. So pretty straightforward. All you have to do is mess around with those. You can come over here, bring the roughness down if you want to make it a bit more glossy. And what we're going to do now is just grab these random spheres and simply just go to the drop down here and just add the materials you want. So I might make that one pink. I might grab this guy. I might make it a blue. I might grab this guy. So just totally personal taste. You can make some new materials if you want. Make this one the lighter pink. Grab this guy. Just play around with it. So make this guy blue. And grab this guy. Make it purple. And then grab this guy at the back and just make it whatever. Like, it doesn't matter. Just make it how you want. I'm gonna maybe make that one yellow. Okay, so here we have our scene. Like I said, I'm not really going to the color palette. Make it whatever you want, but this is pretty much how I've made it using this really cool material by Ducky 3D. And you can come in here, grab any one of these materials you want, and you can mess around with the scale and make it whatever you want. So this is our scene. If you want to render this out, what you can do is just go to your settings here. So go to the little printer icon. What you're going to do is hit your little folder here. Go to your desktop or wherever you want, go accept. You can go file format, and we're going to make this FFmpeg video. Then go to your encoding, go to container, make it an MP4. And then what you can do is go over here to encoding quality or output quality and make this perceptually lossless. And if you go now and you go render and you go render animation, it should render this out to wherever you selected that folder, and you should have a finished animation. Oh yeah, one more thing, I actually forgot this, I can't believe. So just grab this plane at the bottom as well and give that guy a material. So almost forgot that, I can't believe I forgot that. So there you go, that is our finished scene. Go ahead, render it out, mess around with the colors, make it whatever you want. I hope you guys have found this useful. Like I said, there's going to be a link in the description below if you guys want to buy this for $1 on Gumroad to pull it apart, check it out and see what I've done. I'll see you guys next time, thanks.